Right, I've got a lesson for you now which I think might be quite useful, and although it's based on initially on blues playing, hopefully you'll find that what I'm about to kind of work through with you will be relevant to any kind of genre, especially rock, soul, but you could probably apply it to quite a lot of kind of indie and funk and disco, whatever. The idea being that if you say to someone to take a solo and it's a blues, default thing is for people to go at the blues scale and think about it in a very linear way, because you learn the blues scale like this. We'll work in the key of G. Okay. And so certainly with younger teenage guitar players who've not been playing for quite so long, a default thing might be, right, here's your solo coming up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to start your solo in a kind of linear thing to do with using the scale. Okay? And that's understandable in a way. But there's two principles that I want you now to try and kind of work on and perhaps utilise in your playing. First one is a default position for a guitar solo is now not going to be the blues scale. Okay, it's only going to be using really 4 notes and the more from the pentatonic major scale rather than the blues scale. Blues scale's got its place, and there's some great riffs you can do there. You've probably worked some of them out yourself, but this is something that I think might just take your playing into a different level. So if we're in the key of G now, our default position I want you to experiment with isn't anywhere down on frets 3 and 5 where you'd normally play your blues scale. I want you to think of this as your starting point for your G. And you've got a box of notes now around 8 and 10. They're the 3 notes that you're going to make the most use of, and there's one other little note which is going to be this E note here, which is the only one that isn't on 8 and 10, and that's on fret 9. Okay? And basically our starting point for a lot of the riffs is going to be our G root and our 6th of the scale below the root, which is near there. Okay? A lot of your kind of riffs are going to start from that position. Okay, and then these are the ones that are going to add the kind of embellishments. Okay, and the other thing I want you to think about now is you're not going to, if your solo's coming in, you're not going to start playing on the 1. You're going to actually stop after that note. Okay, you're going to have something that I sometimes call a pre-1, in that you'll play a lot of your riffs in the beats after beat 3 leading into beat 1. I'll give you an example. Okay, a 1, 2, 3. Okay, now there. We went to 1, 2, 3, da 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 da, and that bent note was on beat 1 of the next bar. Okay, so rather than waiting for beat 1 to start your solo just a beat before, so it's kind of got some syncopation. It's a little bit funky. And then once you've kind of finished your note, or wherever your note is on beat 1, then take a break. So it'll go a 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3. Okay, and notice therefore we're putting lots of space in the solo. There's quite a long gap. We're going a 1, 2, 3, da 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 da, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3. So we're actually leaving most of the music empty. Okay, and that's sometimes it's that classic almost cliche. It's like it's not the notes you play, it's the ones you leave out. Let's leave loads of space in this. Now, you might have noticed that this is starting to sound a lot like B.B. King. His style playing was kind of the default style lots of blues players took on board in the 50s and 60s. But because the way music gets passed down, you'll probably find that some of this kind of timing thing is certainly true of a guitar player like, say, Noel Gallagher. If you think of the solo of Live Forever, a 1, 2, 3... something like that, isn't it? But it's the same principle. There's lots of spaces there. There's beat 1 with a pause. Beat 1 again. And he's kind of just playing at the end of the bars and then resting after beat 1's been played. And if you apply this to your solos all over the board or in all the different genres, I think you'll find you'll come across sounds slightly more kind of professional, in that you kind of play before the 1, you take a pause on the 1, you leave almost a full bar before your next phrase. Okay, I'm going to do it now with a backing track, just so you get an idea. The backing track's not very loud, so hopefully you can hear it a little bit, and you'll get the idea. And notice my fingers now are going to be mainly around this area of 8 and 10, because we're in the key of G, and that's our G root note, remember. Here we go. Set the track off. I noticed there, I did play the blues scale, but I waited until the end of the kind of 12 bars and then added the final linear thing, a downward sort of movement. And it acts a bit like a full stop then. And then what you're getting is the relief of the major sort of pentatonic, which is, in a way, you're trying to bend up to the natural third, but you're just kind of falling short of it, and that's what gives you that really tasty kind of blues note. It's not quite a kind of flattened third, it's not quite the sweet third, it sort of falls in between. And I'm using the sixth of the scale, the C note, almost as a pivot. B.B. King would often do solos pretty much using just them three notes. That one bent, sometimes not bent, if it's on the 5 chord, if it was a 12-bar blues, as you hit the 5, you don't bend it. That lets you know you're kind of in the 5 chord, the D7th. And there's a few little tasty double stops I'll show you in a second, but the idea being that really, that's our kind of magic phrase, okay? And then, for a bit of relief, at the end of your kind of solo, then use the blues scale maybe. Or an upward thing. Okay. So, a few other kind of little tasty riffs around here. We've got our natural, okay, where we're hitting the second of the scale and bending up. Okay. We've got the double stop where we can hit the 5th above it, which is nice, bit countrified. Occasionally, we can go, rather than off the 5, we can go off the high 6th. We're not going to bend it, we're just going to kind of sting it. Just a very short, quick, maybe with a bit of a... Okay, we've got another little riff here. Bend up, go to the C note on fret E, up to the D. 8 and 10. And another nice one, which is just a little chromatic phrase where we go, we put that kind of flattened 5th in, 10, 9, 8. We nearly always bend that at the end. Try a bit of experimenting with that yourself. Even if you're just strumming over, it doesn't have to be a 12-bar blues, you're strumming over your basic kind of 1, 4 and 5 chords and riffing around there. But just to recap, playing before beat 1, or 1, 2, 3, and then you play your note. Then waiting almost a bar and a half before you play your next one. Plenty of space in the arrangement. Other instruments might fill those gaps. You might go... Piano might do a little riff there. Or maybe it's the vocalist. And remember, this is a movable shape. We're in the key of G, so I'm taking that as our kind of start route. If we were in the key of F, we just go down. If it was E, just to there. If it was A. And if it was C, you'd be getting up in the higher register. So, have a mess around the neck, see if you can kind of get your finger in the same sort of positions as me, and more importantly, try and get that timing thing going on where you're leaving some space and you're playing before beat 1. Good luck.